Hey, welcome back, everybody. So, this is going to be the watch list for Monday, February 24th. And after last week's volatility, it should be interesting to see if we're able to stabilize on Monday. So, just taking a look at the economic news for the upcoming week, we have nothing scheduled for Monday. So, we shouldn't have a catalyst unless there's a global news event out of Russia and Ukraine that develops over the next 24 hours that should really shake the markets to the upside or to the downside. So hopefully we find a little bit of stability from the sell-off and we could possibly head higher. Now, Tuesday, we do have the home price index coming out at 9 o'clock a.m., which is going to be Eastern Standard Time. Now, looking back on last week's home sales and overall pricing, it did not bode well for the home builders. The home builders sold off exponentially to the downside on less inventory, higher construction costs, longer carrying times, and higher mortgage rates. So mortgage rates are now well north of 7%, which is creating one of the lowest demand buying cycles in the past 3 years for homes. The other thing that we had last week was some consumer confidence numbers, and they are yet coming out again for the month of February. Now, those also dropped lower on Friday, which started to spark some of the sell-off, in addition to the commentary from Walmart that they are seeing sales slow, and the average spend per consumer is going down. We also have a couple of Fed governors speak, but hopefully you're already done trading by then, so that should be a moot point. On Wednesday, we have new home sales, and then the Atlanta Fed President Bostic speaking. Again, new home sales, be cognizant of this number. Again, we had home sales data that dropped on Thursday, as well as more information on Friday, so it's just best to not be in a trade. The big numbers of the week are going to come on Thursday and Friday. So we are going to have jobless claims, durable good orders, GDP, pending home sales, and a whole bunch of Fed governors that are going to be talking. So I would expect Thursday to be quite volatile. Now, it's going to be the jobless claims that are announced before the market open that are going to probably give you a little bit of a directional bias one way or the other. And then on Friday, we're going to have inflation data numbers. And those are going to be the things we're going to want to watch. So what's been happening over the last 2 weeks is inflation is creeping higher. Unemployment has been coming down. But overall cost of goods and the fear of cost of goods going up, specifically with autos, appliances, and things that are manufactured outside of the United States and imported, will rise in price. So the tariffs go on, Mexico, Canada, they come off for 30 days, they go on for China. Now there's more tariffs being talked about for other economies around the world, including Europe. So it's kind of a wild card, and the market is somewhat on edge because of this. So be cognizant of your news. Don't be in a trade. Now the good news is here, at least on Friday, everything drops before the market open, before this Chicago barometer PMI. And so that's just 15 minutes. So we should be fairly good. So let's watch and see what happens on Monday, and we'll kind of go from there. So clearly, recap from the week. Trading again at all-time highs. So the last time we were trading at all-time highs, what did we do? We pushed down on SPY all the way to 594. They pushed it all the way back up to 609. Then what did they do? Sold it all the way down lower to 591. Pushed it all the way back up here to 607. And then we were in a stair step. And now we are right back at this same level, 599.64, that we were at back here in February. We were also back here in January, and then we pushed up higher in January as well. So I'm going to want to see, does this level hold? Now, I'm on a 4-hour time frame. You'll note that I do have some overall levels below, but we are bouncing off the 200 simple moving average. Okay, so that's something that I'm always going to be cognizant of. The 200 is a much longer term perspective on the market. You can see we don't have a lot of demand here, though. So if we break below 599.64 and 598.88, where do I think we're going to? My interim level, which was right here, which will now become a permanent level on a 4-hour time frame, which is at the bottom of this demand zone of about 597. So I would be definitely looking for a potential slowdown and a bounce. But we fail this, then we're, unfortunately going to be heading lower in the markets. So obviously I chart on the daily, the 4-hour and the 1-hour, but I'm going to be trading on the lower time frames like the 5-minute and the 1-minute. You could see here when we come to a lower time frame, we are at an equilibrium. We will see how the market futures open overnight, and then we will kind of go from there. But if we start failing these levels, look for some buyers down here below 598. Now I'm going to take a look at the QQQ. Same exact thing, right? We definitely saw a huge sell-off on Friday. They just literally sold into this market big time. And again, great opportunity with puts. Now, mind you, let's go ahead and shut this off. We still have a bit of a trend line that we're still somewhat holding. So I would not be abandoning this, quite yet, right? I mean, so, we do have some more potential risk to the downside, but we are holding a level of 525.40. Let's go ahead and zoom in on a 1-hour time frame. I'm going to want to see us be able to hold this level of 525.40. If we can't, I do have a very, very strong level on the Qs at 523.52, 64 respective. And those are so close because they've been holding and rejecting over and over in time. So I'm going to want to be very, very cognizant of that. We lose that, then my next price target is going to be the 521.87. We lose that, and we go to 519.30. Now, mind you, if we are going to lose this price target right here, note what it's also doing is it is losing the trend line. So then that should give you confidence to at least go short to 519, where they bounce the market, they rejected the market, they bounce the market, bounce the market, bounce the market, bounce the market, right? So just always look to your left. Let's look at some of the individual names. I'm going to go ahead and do something a little different today, and I'm going to start with the banks. So the telltale sign that the market was going to roll over is when the market was making a new all-time high, the one sector that was not was the financials. Now, Morgan Stanley was actually holding up quite well through all of this volatility. So you can see that we do have, some overall support in the name at 134.30. We broke below it, we retested it, tried to get above it, and then we actually failed lower. So I would look for this, and this is one of the things that you can do, is if you want to take a fib level from this most recent pivot low to the pivot high. Let me get that to stick here for you. There we go. And I'm going to look for a 50% fib for a bounce. They did not bounce the 50% fib, clearly, right? They failed it pretty strong. We really didn't get a retest. So if we go lower, I would look for 129.86. And if the banks are weak, this one I think is going back to 126.55. So this is how you can play some of these actually to the downside. Now this is the golden zone. So this is the area that I would expect it to bounce to go higher. I would not want to go long until I can get back above this 134.30, okay? Because I think even if we get to the fib of 132.19 and they bounce it, this is going to act as a resistance and a ceiling. So if you're going to get up here, we'd look for a retest. This would be my price target for calls, or wait for the retest for the market to then come up even higher, okay? Retest here, and then move north. So I think there was just a lot of extreme fear on Friday on some bad data, and everybody just decided to sell out. Let's look at Wells Fargo. That was another one that was flying pretty high. You will note that we are at my price level here that was already on the charts from a prior point in time of 77.28. We do have a gap filled to the bottom down here at 73.50. So if we start to lose these levels where there is really no buyers, right? There's no buyers on Wells Fargo until we get down here at 76.30. So if we fail 77.28, I think, again, puts are good. And if they start to eat into this, then they're definitely going to be going for the gap fill lower. And then we have yet another gap below that. So the banks were roaring strong for the longest period of time, and now they are showing relative weakness. Let's take a look at JP Morgan. This is another one that's very intriguing, where Jamie Dimon said, when his stock was up here above 250, he's like, I wouldn't be buying it back here. Then they are not buying back their stock. So he just thinks that it's too expensive on a price to tangible book value, which is true. It is trading at an all-time high. Now, you will note we are bouncing off the one-day demand. Would I necessarily want to go long into this? Probably not. But if you do start to get some upside momentum in the market where it is going to be pushing higher, what I would do is I would just go to a 4-hour time frame and I would take a fib from this pivot high to this pivot low, and then my retracement price target to the upside is going to be 571.99. Now, mind you, I would really love to see this stabilize, but we probably might be heading down here to 260, and you might have to redraw that fib lower, but it at least gives you a little bit of an idea as to if we start gaining traction, where are we going to the upside. The other thing that really sold off, I'm going to look at another sector, which is going to be the energy. Energy was, while it was selling off, it was holding pretty good. I believe on the live on Friday, someone asked about what do I think about ExxonMobil, and I did draw a fib on Exxon, and I have removed it. But I said I wouldn't want to go long until we could get above that 50% retracement fib, which we never did. Just ended up trending lower for the day. But my buy on Exxon would be right here at 110. I really do like this level. It's held multiple times in the past. It was support. They've rejected it, rejected it, rejected it, rejected it. But that was on the way up. But then on the way down, it has been acting as support. So I think there's some good opportunity probably in the Exxon Mobil. Devon Energy is another name I think that you can keep on watch, where we are clearly in overall demand. Now, if energy is weak and Devon loses, again, note, this pivot low here is at the bottom of the overall demand zone. So if we lose that, then I definitely think there's more pain ahead for us to drop lower. Okay, so definitely keep an eye on that. One of the other things we can do with Devon, just let's see where this lines up. For conversation's sake, we're going to take a fib from the recent pivot low to the pivot high. If we break this level of 37.26, my price target would be 36.01. So I'm going to keep an eye on that for a potential bounce. You will note when we got up here, what do we do? 38.73. We rejected it here. They couldn't push above it, couldn't push above it. Barely did it, rejected it. And now we're coming back down to this interim of 37.26. We fail 37.26. We could get a bounce at 36.01. And then you guys know how to play fibs back to the downside, right? And then again, we lose some of these important levels like 33.02. It just ends up becoming lights out. And then we'll head even lower to the downside. So back to the maybe mid-30s. So keep an eye on some of the energy names. I think that could give you some really good risk to reward setups over time. Let's take a look at tech, which is clearly what's been driving the market. Apple really remained relatively strong. It did not sell off on Friday like absolutely everything else. So my level of this 246.03 has been really pretty darn solid, right? We rejected it, we get above it, we get above it, we get above it. They can't hold it, right? And then this level is all the way from another prior point in time. Let's just do this, see where we line up here. Note that this high of 248.36, they pushed it up to it twice, 3 times a charm, failed it, and now we are heading lower. So what would I want to watch for Apple? I would want to see us come back up to 246.03 and head lower. With an ultimate price target of 240, get above 246.03 and go back up to 248. Now, mind you, I would probably be watching this more on a 1-hour time frame, but do note that we, had quite a bit of a sell-off, but in overall dollar amounts, it wasn't much at all. It was all of $2, and $2 on a $248 stock is relatively very strong. The other thing that we can do with Apple here as well, let me get rid of that. I did not want that line. I wanted this one. So let's go ahead and take a look at a trend line on Apple right here, right, where we're getting a couple of touch points. Let's watch and see, does this hold on Monday, 244.97? If not, could be a potential to head lower. but you will note you're in quite a bit of demand. So I would rather much look for calls. I personally don't like to short into demand because those can be rather short-lived, and then your overall volatility could go up exponentially. One of the trades that I did take on Friday close was some calls on Amazon. So this one I think is also well overdone to the downside. We got a nice bounce here, bounce here, bounce here, bounce here. We came below both my dual band levels, okay? MACD is starting to curl up marginally, but we did recover it on the market close. Now, mind you, I went all the way out to the April 17 expirations, I believe, for the 220s. Because I definitely think that, we'll have a catalyst between now and then. Whereas if this 216.53 holds, getting back up to 220 should not be a problem whatsoever. So it looks like on the market close, VWAP was about 217. So I'd love to see us get a momentum move higher, and then I'll do one of two things. Either trim some of those calls or I will hold them. Let's look at NVIDIA. And NVIDIA, we are bouncing my level. These have been really, really solid levels, guys. 137.18, 134.92, 132.37. Really nice bounce and hold, bounce and hold, bounce and hold. And then bounce, retest, fail to the downside. And now we are back here to 134. We lose the 134. Then I'd look at 132, 130, 127, and so on and so forth. So, Palantir. So lots of gossip on that name, right? Pentagon is reducing their spending. It's trading at like an ungodly valuation. This was just a quick down and dirty where I was watching for a reject on the market open on Friday at 108.68. I did not take it, unfortunately, but if you were live trading with me, this is one of the names that we were looking at, and we pushed almost down to my level here. I mean, we're pretty darn close. I'm at 99.75. This candle low was at 100, so I missed it by 25 cents. And then where are we at? We're pretty much right there now. So we're going to want to watch and see if this 99.75 holds. Think 100 as psychological to the upside for a bounce or a reject lower. Looking at some overall supply and demand, we have nothing other than supply. I mean, there is no demand on this thing, right? And there's no demand because it's been a rocket ship to the upside. So I definitely think that they're in for a little bit more volatility. And then if we were going to sell this off, let's go ahead and go back to a 4-hour time frame. Obviously, my first stop is going to be this prior pivot where it actually held at 95.80. But then I would be coming back down here, somewhere right around this level, where we were at 82.24. So I do think there's a lot of room to the downside on this one, and you might want to keep an eye on it. The other one that'll be intriguing is Tesla, right? I don't think Elon Musk is becoming a favorite of many people across the United States, and I'm just wondering if I take some leap puts. That's something that I'm going to look at this week, and just thinking about the fact that could auto sales be dramatically slowing on Tesla with all that Elon is doing with government intervention? I'm not here to argue if it's right or wrong, but what I will tell you is that the way he's going about it is not going to sit well with people in corporate America who can afford $100,000, $120,000 Teslas, right? I'm not talking about the Model 3. He ain't making any money on Model 3 anyways. He makes all the money on the S as well as the Plaid Edition and the higher end SUVs. So could there be a market opportunity for some long-term leap puts, which would go out to probably, I would look for January of 2026, and that'll be something I'll keep my eye on. But you can see we are definitely weak here. Huge sell-off, a little bit of a pop back up to 362. We're coming down into overall demand, but if that doesn't hold, 313, then 299, and then below 299, they're going for this gap fill, right? That's a gap fill on the daily, so we should keep this, and we'll just drag it over. I'm going to go ahead and save that, make sure I got that right. Yep, the gap is here. You can see it ain't going nowhere. So I would watch them want to fill this. Then we break below 251, and again, panic starts to set in. So watch some of these higher, more volatile names for your Q one direction or the other. But with that, those are just some of the things that I'm watching. I'm super, super glad that we finally got a pullback because we have better ranges to now start trading within. When you're trading at an all-time high, it is very, very difficult for you to trade level to level. So for me, I don't take a trade. So here's a great example on SPY. I have no trade unless I get to 675, or I have no trade unless I get to 599.64. The market is going to do one of four things where I have to make a decision. We're going to push up to here and reject, or we are going to push up to here, bounce, and go higher. The option number 3 is we're going to come down to here and move up, or we are going to come down to here, retest, and we are going then lower, right? So these are always the decisions I have to make. But I don't make a decision until I get to the level. I watch price action, I watch volume, and I watch confluence trading. So if I'm trading SPY, I'm also watching QQQ to take my lead. And then within the Qs, I'm cognizant of what's going on with Tesla, Apple, Nvidia. Those are the 3 that will sway the market the most. So with that, hopefully you have found this beneficial. Here's some great price levels that you could trade off of. And I will be live tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock a.m. for those of you who want to join. With that, have a fantastic Sunday fun day, and we will all talk soon. Take care.